What's going on, everybody? Today is Sunday, October 20th. This is the episode 5 recap of Survivor 47 on the Reality Gurus podcast. And it's been a long time coming. This was one we called the only double done chained person was Annika. She bites the dust. And seemingly the last trial before the merge, we finally got the big payoff for something they've been setting up for a long time. And Andy lives. That's the biggest part of this.
Is this the first dumb chain we've hit? Did you have any that you hit before her?
No, there has not been, or this is the first one to hit
Yeah.
because yeah, it's just been. I have Andy in Rome now. You have nobody.
hmm
You're getting into you're such a wagon that you're gonna miss the boat on some of these bad people.
I know. I need to
Yeah.
start losing people soon, or else I'm gonna miss my opportunity.
Um, but yeah, this was an interesting week. We got a lot of the blue tribe unraveling, but ultimately, the yellow tribe goes to tribal council. Um, and this, I feel like there wasn't too much to do in this episode, honestly, because this has been built up for weeks that this was going to happen. The one interesting thing is Andy, he kind of offers himself to Annika and Rachel. And he's like, hey, I'm going to be loyal to whoever the first person is to throw me a lifeline. They tell him to vote for Sam. And this didn't really benefit anything, but I did like that Andy proved that he can formulate a plan on his own and execute it, even if, like, he's like, I can successfully get them to give me a fake name when I'm on the bottom.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
not an accomplishment, but he did it. He set
Is
his
Andy
mind to it. He
good?
did it.
Talking point of the week. Is Andy good?
I honestly think he might be good. I think he's stunted by the blow up in episode 1 cuz if you take that out of it, then what is his game been? It's pretty much he's doesn't fit in the best socially, but there's nothing actually wrong with him.
I mean, you could. I don't. I think you could make the argument he does fit in socially. He's in the
Yeah,
majority alliance on his tribe.
right. Yeah, so yeah, originally it's like, oh yeah, he's the odd man
Yeah.
out, whatever. But yeah, I think Andy is maybe a good player. We moved him all the way up. He's fifth in the rankings this week.
Yeah. I
He's a
think that.
guy.
Yeah. I can. I'm confident in saying he's not bad.
No, I don't
But
think he's bad. He's
yeah.
average at worst, I think.
Yeah, I would agree.
Socially
I
at
think,
least.
yeah, he's a little quirky, and I think sometimes the quirks lead to not the best perception of him in the game of Survivor. But I mean, he makes sound decisions. I think, like, we got a good edit from him this week.
Yeah, I think so too. And the other interesting thing from this tribe, so him and Sam's relationship, Sam has that immunity idol that's only good for 1 week, and he's scared that Andy isn't going to trust him if he plays it. I was thinking to do what he actually did, which was just don't fucking play it. Like, it is as soon as you start to get comfortable, that's when you're in trouble. But I think there's a difference between that. Like, he knows that the two plans are Andy and Annika. Like, Andy
Right,
can't afford to diverge from that. And even if Sierra did, it would be to vote out Andy, right?
right.
So I think he was safe not playing it. I think that's what I would have did.
Yeah, I agree with that. I thought that it was a really good week from Sam just in general, and not only the fact that he understood exactly the situation he was in with not wanting to not wanting to play it because it would leave Andy out, but I think secondarily not playing it also keeps I mean he's already on the radar for everyone else on the season just because of him and Sierra being a duo and everyone else from the entire island seemingly knows about that. So I think like having that and also playing an idol, especially when you're scorning someone who you weren't like directly against in Rachel, like Rachel could have done some real damage here in like Sam and Sierra are a duo and Sam found an idol and played it to like everyone else like post merge. So like I
Right.
think both of those things he didn't like. I mean, obviously Rachel probably isn't going to work with him, but at least he didn't give her that extra ammo, and he keeps Andy thinking that Andy knows everything about their relationship or what Sam has, the information he has. So I thought it was great. I thought Sam had a great week. The only reason why I do always put Sierra above Sam in my
Yeah.
rankings, I do that because how they're viewed as a duo, I just think that Sam would get targeted first going into the merge before Sierra. And like I
Mhm.
do think Sam is probably the better player of the two, but I think just him the fact of who he is, I think puts him in a slightly worse position even though he's a better player, I think.
Yeah, I have had Sierra above Sam every week, pretty much since week two, I think, except for this week, just because Sam got his way this week.
Yeah.
Because Sierra was kind of wrestling with, does she do Andy or Annika, and Sam convinces her that they do need to get rid of Annika. I'm not so sure that she did the best thing for her game, actually, because I think the benefit of the Sam Andy alliance for her was that it was a secret. Like if they go
Hmm.
to the merge, that it works out so well. But if you're, I don't know, I feel like having Sam as like your number one over here, and then you also have this girls alliance on the other side. I think going into the merge, like you have more allies. And Rachel's like low key kind of connected. I mean,
Hmm.
Sierra doesn't know that, right?
Hmm.
But yeah, I just don't know that she necessarily did the best thing for her game.
I just think she was in a hard position there where if she if she stays with what she did, the argument is what you're saying, which I do agree with, that like it's probably not the best for her long term game. But if she stays with the girls and votes Andy out, then I don't know if Sam is gonna really be her number one for the rest of the like just him
That's a
voting
good
or
point.
her voting directly like against him like that. Because I don't know, Sam. I think Sierra's is number one, but Andy's definitely like nothing. Like he is. He's not just a number for Sam. Like they're actually allies. So I don't know how that would have shaken out. They
Yeah,
probably could have gotten over it, but I don't know.
yeah,
Turmoil.
I do. One thing about Sam this episode, he was making fun of Andy for sawing the rope poorly, and
Yeah.
he says something along the lines of Andy always finds a way to mess up something in the challenge.
Hmm.
Why doesn't Sam do these parts where it's like,
I
hey,
don't know.
one person is going to do this important thing? It's always Andy. If he
Yeah.
sucks so bad, you fucking do it,
Well, to be
athlete.
fair, you're like, like I mean, Andy's probably wants to participate in the challenge, like
Right, but
and have
there's
a role, and like it's, it's like, they're like, all right, Andy, you can cut this rope, like that's gonna be your job. Like you don't really think that that's like the part that you're gonna get hung up on is like you just cut the rope with the knife.
yeah, and then he's sawing it with the dull side of the blade.
I saw so many like that was definitely clipped on online a lot this
Oh yeah,
week.
the hump,
Andy, yeah,
him humping it. Yeah, that
yeah.
was good. Um, but yeah, so Andy stays. Annika just would not leave the tribal council.
No, I know.
She wanted to have her Kelly Nalbandian moment so
Yes.
bad.
Well, I like it. I like this when people do this. I am very much against the like I played a good game. Everyone played a good game. Good job, guys. Like I'm against that. I want to see some passion out there. Like and that's what we talk about all the time is like these people are too much fans of the show and they're like relishing in the moment that they get voted out just because of like oh I get to get my torch snuffed by Jeff. Like I hate that.
Yeah,
Like
I hate
this is
that.
what I want is like she was genuinely hurt by these people
Hmm.
and like it's good TV to see that emotion and her like to process it in real time, which is different than when they make them do it at the final tribal and the person loses and Jeff's like, "How do you feel about losing?" Shoves the mic in the face. But I like this moment to she would not leave though.
Yeah, I like when she was like, who owns this or whatever. Like,
Sam goes,
I think she meant whose idea was this,
yeah.
but when Sam raises his hand and then she doesn't really react to it,
Hmm.
and Andy just goes, "Is the three of us, three votes?" Like,
Yeah,
she
listen.
asks Rachel, "Did you know?" She says, "No." The other fucking three people did
Yeah, right.
it.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of like an awkward moment, and I like left that moment feeling like not as good about Sam, to be honest, because like I
He
don't know.
started to develop a genuine dislike for Annika, I think.
He did, but like just the way he raised his hand, and then everyone else was like kind of like no, it was like a group thing. But
I
I don't
think I
know.
think he meant like I think he might have interpreted it as who were the votes, and he was like, I was one of the votes.
Oh yeah, gotcha.
Like I think he was just over her like trying to have a big moment there,
Yeah,
where she was
yeah,
just like still sticking around. I think he was like, oh, just fucking leave. Like
yeah.
yeah, I would bet that was what it was from. Um, Also this episode, like we mentioned, the Blue Tribe. And I guess let's talk about the reward challenge first, actually, because this kind of sets it up. So we're still in three tribes. We thought this might be a swap.
Hmm.
Um, Turns out not a swap, but we're gonna do two separate kind of intermixed groups for the reward. So a summit type of deal. They call it the survivor social hour. They
Hmm.
just get more like caricature
They do, yeah.
in the new era. But the red group, so we've got seven people total. We got Teeny from the red tribe. We had Sam and Rachel from the yellow. And then blue had four people. We had Kyle, Tiana, Sue, and Caroline. Gabe was the only one who did not make it there, um, which is important because while they're all talking, Teeny, she's like, "Yeah, I'm on the bottom." She pretty much says what happened the episode before.
Right.
Um, Although it didn't sound like she gave specifics as to who pulled the trigger on what really.
Hmm.
Um, the Yellow Tribe, they essentially like, yeah, we're all together, we're big kumbaya, everything. Sue tells Sam that yeah, everyone thinks that you and Sierra are running the show, and he's like, no, I don't even talk to her that much.
Like, where are you getting this from? Just because I
Yeah.
kissed her on the lips in front of everyone? I'm not understanding why everyone is thinking we're dating.
Yeah, so she's which also, how has this not come up that do they not just blame Rachel for this? Because she went on the journey.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
and Annika too.
yeah. Like, I
Those
don't
two
know.
are the two that have been on the journey. If
Right.
anyone's gonna get inside information about the Yellow Tribe, it's people through those two.
Right, exactly. The only other avenue is like they see them in the challenges, I guess, but nobody's really paying attention to each other in the challenges. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
And I also don't think that they do anything crazy in the challenges. Because once it became a thing that it's like, hey, other tribes think this, I've been looking out for it, and I really can't see anything like out of the ordinary.
It had to have been. We would have to go back and look and see like what Rachel and Annika had said in the past, but like I don't.
Well,
There's nothing that could be interpreted like just purely through just like observation. I don't think.
that's the thing is I don't think they actually did say anything. I don't remember Annika or like I think this started because someone unprompted said to Annika like they said that to her.
Hmm.
And she was like that's when she started to be suspicious of the two of them.
Hmm.
Um and she like couldn't keep her mouth shut about it cuz I mean at that point you have leverage against them to like go to Rachel and be like yeah they like people think this.
Right.
But still, with the Andy situation, I don't think they ever would have actually been able to split them up. But I mean, that being said, I just think that Sam and Sierra they could develop some kind of plausible deniability of like, hey, everybody in the fucking game thinks that Sierra and I are running the show. They would not. They have no idea who's running the show on our tribe by what happens at the challenges. So they could say to Rachel like, it had to be you or Annika, and we felt like it was probably Annika.
Right.
And
Yeah,
you're
that's true. They could probably wiggle their way out of it. I still don't think that Sierra is gonna get out of like get off a Rachel shit list just because of how
no,
she
I don't
was
think so.
acting, but like
Um,
the ship has sailed.
but yeah, so the big thing here is the Blue Tribe. Tiana tells everybody in the open forum that Gabe is the hustler of their tribe. Kyle, he kind of pipes up like, yeah, that's like true, right? Um, Sue is pretty pissed, and her and Gabe are pretty tight number ones. Tiana and Kyle have been together, even like with all the TK stuff, and even though Tiana went to the other side, but uh, it really is Caroline in the middle. She seems to have developed something with Sue, but she also seems to have a working relationship with both Gabe and Tiana. Um, she's kind of trying to keep the peace. So I don't actually know if they were to go to a tribal council, which way this would have shifted, but I did think Caroline had a really big episode because she got the amulet last week, so she met Teeny and Andy last week, and I felt like she was solid there, nothing great. Um, but then this week it felt like we saw her doing even more of that. She had pulled Teeny aside. She was talking with Rachel as well, um, and I just feel like we're getting all of the cross tribal stuff
Mm-hmm.
through her point of view. And I mean, I'm still reading the edit in the new era, which maybe I'm an idiot for that, but I feel like getting that through her point of view means it's going to pay off for her specifically, at least.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. This week, I felt like we got a lot of like miscellaneous story and wrap up
Mm-hmm.
before the merge, which is why we finally got some blue stuff because they ended up not going again. But Caroline, I just like don't trust her for some reason, and I don't know why. Like, I don't know if it's the way
The
she
Countess.
the Countess. That's why she's such a menacing name. Uh, I don't know if it's the way she like articulates what she's doing or like I don't know what it is specifically, but like I don't like trust her decision making for some reason. And I think it's partly because like I coming out of this tribe, I like Tiana and Kyle better than I like Sue, Caroline, and Gabe just as
Mm-hmm.
like units and as players. And I think the merge benefits Tiana and Kyle a lot more than it benefits Sue, Caroline, and Gabe. Um,
But I don't know that Caroline's tied to those two, is the thing.
right.
I think she's more of a floater.
Yeah. So I just like the this episode, in my opinion, was definitely edited to be like more negative towards that what Tiana's explanation was. Like
Mm-hmm.
they wanted you to feel like she's not making the right decision here, I feel like. But I disagree with how it's being edited or like my feeling on the edit. I like because I said this like just before we started recording in that like I don't think this is a bad move necessarily from Tiana just because like I think the rest her saying like oh yeah Gabe is like this running the show. Gabe is, you know, this he's a gamer, right? And like I think the rest of the people on that journey and the rest of the island, once you get to the merge, I think they're going to agree with her point of view and they're going to disagree with Sue's point of view and they're just I think they're just going to see through and say see like oh Sue and Gabe are just aligned, that's why she's saying this, and it's not going to be as good for them as they think it will be. So I like there I have like some dissonance there where like I'm reading the edit and I'm like, okay, this looks not great for Tiana and by extension Kyle. But like in my heart, I'm like, this is a I don't think she did anything wrong here. So like I'm not fully connecting the dots on why I'm what I'm seeing isn't lining up with what I'm feeling. Like I feel like we don't have all the information yet. And
Yeah.
that piece could be Caroline, where Caroline falls. It could be that Caroline falls with Sue and Gabe, and she has these cross tribal connections with other people, and then they just have the majority by virtue of Caroline being connected with them, and Tiana and Kyle are just outnumbered. Like that could totally go that way, but
Yeah.
it is I
Yeah.
think yet to be seen.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I agree and disagree with you because there's a bunch of different points that are all are all valid and kind of working together. I think that I the biggest thing that I don't like is I don't like the forum in which Tiana decided to do this, just because your last vote it was a 4-2. Kyle was on the wrong side of it, which means there's yourself and two other people who voted with Gabe at the last tribal council, and I think it's a little sloppy to assume that just because everyone thinks Gabe is like a little sneaky or whatever, and he's a little too he's hustling a little too hard. I don't think it's the right move to assume that everyone would be fine with you saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that said, I think I do agree with your argument in that like with the merge coming next, this is really good for Tiana because she got that information out there. and she's pretty much safe from it. I mean, blue is the only tribe with 5 people left, and I do think typically the biggest tribe eats itself very early in the merge, right? So we could see a lot of these people coming at each other. Um, but I think I do agree with you that I think Gabe is a very palatable target soon because he is like even when he's not looking for like he's not looking for the idol anymore. But you can tell he's a guy that the wheels are always turning and he's like a little squirrely.
Hmm.
And I think that combined with Sue being his closest ally, I think when he talks about wanting to work with like the mom out there, it's because he's like a 30-year-old whatever like guy and he's saying no one would expect me to work with her, right? And so he almost wants this secret alliance kind of deal, which I do think is a good idea. But I think at this point, it's becoming more and more obvious, or it will be at least at the merge, that they are together. And I
Right.
think his style of play, mixed with Sue, how rigid she is, in like I would like to have her as an ally because of how loyal she is, but she's so closed off to anyone that she's not an ally with or anyone who is against, say, Gabe, that she's not going to get any new information and she can't circle that back to Gabe. Like, you
Hmm.
almost need a balance in an ally of someone who is uh, very loyal to you, but can almost appear to be open to others enough that if your name does come up, they'll actually hear it and be able to
Hmm.
tell you, and then you can plan for it together. And so, yeah, I like the idea of this tribe eating themselves and Gabe being a target early.
Yeah, I do agree with you that like I don't think anyone is gonna offer up Gabe's name with Sue in the room or with Sue in earshot. Like she isn't
Yeah,
one of those players that like you just like volunteer information to like in a
hmm,
large group like that. I don't like I don't see a scenario where it's like her and like three or four other people like standing by the well and someone's like, "You know, what do you guys think about Gabe tonight?" Like she's not a part of those like conversations where like
yeah,
someone just pitches something, I feel like. Just because of how she has operated thus far in the game where like she is very like yes or no. Like there's like not really much of a discussion about it. So,
right. But I think Caroline could be, and I think
yeah,
that's
I
why
agree with that.
she is kind of the key to all of this. Like, I don't know that I think her or Tiana is a better player, right? Or even Kyle. I like Kyle as a player. I think those three are the best 3 players from that blue tribe.
Mm,
But I it doesn't necessarily mean that I think Caroline is better than Tiana. It's just she's the one in the position to make or break Tiana's game. And I think if I were her, I'd probably just go where the numbers are. But if it really comes down to it and it seems like she maybe is the one who needs to make a push one way or the other, I
mm,
think I would actually side with Gabe and Sue because I think Tiana is a better player than Gabe or Sue.
yeah.
Um, All right, and then we had last we could talk about Red a little bit. Red is such a mess that Rome he's mad at Teeny because she didn't tell him that his name was out there. She's like, "Well, I didn't have a vote, so I couldn't really change anything." He's like, "Well, you could have told me at least," which is I think very valid on his part.
Yeah.
Um, the interesting thing here is this Soul and Rome dynamic, and it's typically we get 2 people that are at odds in one way or another, right, on pretty much every tribe. But this has it's consumed the red tribe, like not only each other's game, but really the red tribe, the Soul versus Rome dynamic.
Hmm.
And Rome is circling around to the idea of what I said last time, where it's pretty much they hate each other so much and they've been at each other's throats long enough without getting each other out that they're like, maybe this guy is valid. Like maybe they're a worthy they're a worthy opponent, right? I haven't been able to get them out. Maybe
Right.
they have some juice to them. Maybe they'll work together. And I think Rome was trying to do that. He was like, let me sit down, Soul, because after Teeny doesn't tell me my name, Soul is formidable, and he says, let me. He says to Genevieve, "I'd rather we work with Saul than Teeny. So he goes out, he tells Saul everything. He tells him about Teeny's amulet.
Hmm.
Uh, the interesting thing is he says Genevieve would rather work with Teeny long term than Saul, which I didn't hear her say, but Genevieve all but confirmed it. And she says, "We all know that that's true, but I don't want Saul to know that."
Right.
And it's just interesting because I think with him and Genevieve, you're so close to the merge, you got to know that you're close, right? 13 people, you got to think that 12 is probably the latest you're merging. And I think for you and Genevieve, you got to figure out who your third is. This has
Hmm.
been an absolute mess, but you need to lock down something. And I think one of you trying to lock down one of the people and the other trying to do the other. Like I think it's a good thing if you say, "All right, me and Genevieve are together. Genevieve's gonna tell Teeny that it's them three. Saul or Rome is gonna tell Saul that it's them three."
Hmm.
And you kind of have established like this chain link where you guys are in the middle. But he's like actively working against Genevieve to Saul.
Hmm.
And that is no good, I don't think. Because Genevieve is now, she says the scales be tipping on Rome.
Yeah.
Rome might fall. How many times is that going to be referenced this
Yeah.
season?
I know. Rome didn't fall in a day.
Yeah.
Uh,
Or in 10 days so far.
I think my read on this tribe is I think Rome is potentially a merge boot candidate.
Yeah. Hmm.
So I think that it's gonna be then Genevieve is left with like two extensions. Like Rome was the link in Genevieve's chain,
Yeah.
right? Like it's Genevieve linked to Rome, and Rome is linked to both Teeny and Saul,
Hmm.
essentially. And if Rome goes, then Genevieve is left working with two people that were like, she's like, which one do I want to work with? And now she's presented with an opportunity where it's both of them, but not her number one.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
good.
no, I think in a vacuum, if you know you're going to the next tribal council, which they are not, and now they're going to merge and whatever, I really do think the best thing for Genevieve, even despite all the work that she's done, is to just say to Teeny and Saul, the three of us are the most normal people here. We've all been working with each other in one way or the other, and we've all kind of backstabbed each other a few times. But at the end of the day, we've felt each other out, and I honestly feel like we're all solid players. We understand what it means to be an ally, and we've been trying to leverage situations against each other, and I think we've proven to each other that we're all solid players, and we should probably like band together and make something happen between the three of them and vote out Rome.
Yeah.
And now that's not going to happen, and that is my one fear with Genevieve is that she's hitched her wagon to. Let me combine metaphors here. I think she's hitched her wagon to a sinking ship
Nice.
in Rome. She's hitched her wagon to a falling city. It's like
Yeah.
tying up your horse in Pompeii.
Yeah.
You're gonna be fucked
Atlantis.
pretty soon. Yeah. I hope he
uh,
can swim.
so I like my read on this tribe is predicated upon Rome going home soon because I don't think there's any world in which he doesn't go home soon. Just like I don't think he's like I think he talk about palatable people to vote out at the merge. Like
Yeah.
he is like prime candidate there. So like in my mind, this is Genevieve navigating her relationship with Teeny and Saul no matter what. I think the pitch to them is like pretty much what you said, but it's more like posthumously, like saying like, all
Atlantis
right,
has fallen. Rome has fallen.
Rome is out. Like he was sowing all of this distrust between all of us. You just dump it on Rome essentially
Right.
and say like he was running around like I was like me and him were aligned and like he was like making this he was making my survivor game way harder than it needed to be when we could have just been working together in the first place.
Right.
You just
Yeah.
pitch it that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that they spent the time on the Genevieve and Rome, the relationship at the beginning, but I think we've gotten the payoff on that. We've seen Genevieve and Rome be the only duo to survive the two tribal councils, and now he's becoming a lot, right? And will she cut him? We'll see. I think the best thing for her would be to do that soon. But I do think Genevieve at this point maybe should just make herself a free agent at the merge because even if you think you can work with Sol and Teeny, you don't have to anymore.
Yeah.
And I think it's maybe a better idea to just find one or two people that you really trust at the merge and just jump into their alliance and be like, I'll join as the fifth on the bottom for now, like whatever, or however many numbers it is. But just I need to get away from these people and I need people who are gonna have my back against them if they come for me.
Saul's another person where like I'm misaligned on, not with the edit, but with the players' opinions of him. Like I think the Saul edit is better. I think the Saul edit is neutral. Like I don't think he has like a really a good or a bad edit. I think we've seen good and bad things from him. His position is bad, but I think
Mm-hmm.
the way he's being edited is pretty fairly neutral, which means taking his position and having a neutral edit, that's really like a positive skewing edit, I would say,
Right.
because his
Yes.
edit is better than his position in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's not aligning with the way the players are perceiving him. He's another one, like I was saying, he's like there's some misalignment there where
Yeah. But
I'm
that could
not
be why he
understanding.
he could jump forward at the merge then
That's true.
because it
Yeah,
is going to
that
be a
that could be
shuffle.
what I'm seeing too. Is like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not understanding why no one wants to work with him. Everything we've seen from him, like in his private confessionals and even like in these little like quips with Rome, like he is making the right decisions and he has like the right reads on stuff. Like, and even he said it like he like just doesn't have the information because no one wants to work with
Right.
him.
He doesn't have the capital to do anything about
Exactly. But
anything.
like I'm not understanding why. Like even Genevieve like saying like, yeah, I'm preferring Teeny over Saul. I'm not getting there's no why there. It's just like, oh, it's just a fact that like no one wants to work with Saul. But like we didn't see any of the like there's I'm not perceiving any reason why that's happening. So,
Yeah, I don't think that it's, and I don't know if you're even, saying it in this way, but I don't think that she necessarily doesn't want to work with Saul. I just think that that's kind of, if they go to another tribal council, I think she'd rather vote out Saul because she'd rather work with Teeny,
mhm.
if she had to choose. But again, I'm
I
I'm
guess
not
the
100% on
circumstances
that.
change and emerge, and we could get her saying something
Yeah.
differently. I mean, like this tribe runs through Genevieve basically,
Mm-hmm.
where like we're I think the fate of this tribe is dependent on what Genevieve does. Like I think the fate of Rome, Saul, and Teeny depends on how well Genevieve
Yeah.
what she does and how she wants to work with the other tribes and everything else.
I do think Teeny is maybe the only one who could scamper away based on the fact that she's gotten to do two of these cross tribal journeys
Hmm.
back to back.
She doesn't really seem like she wants to work with them at
The other
all.
tribes.
No, no, her tribe with
Yeah,
Red.
I think that the Kashan thing. I think with the first vote, she was kind of trying to feel everybody out, and like I don't like she didn't want Aisha to go, and or Aisha whatever. She she knew the plan at least, right? It wasn't a total shock to her. It was maybe not the exact thing that she wanted to do,
Hmm.
but she knew it was going on. This week, she didn't know what was going on. It was someone even closer to her than
Hmm.
Aisha's Kashan, and I think she's just lost. And I think she's just over trying to figure out this dynamic with these three people. But I think that's kind of why I said about her, Genevieve, and Soul working together because Rome is the common denominator there. The All of the issues stem from Rome being a very hyper aggressive player. And so I think if he's out of the equation, maybe they can work together. But I would not be surprised if this is a situation where they all branch off from each other. Maybe one of Saul, Teeny, and Genevieve gets voted out, and the other
Hmm.
two come back together kind of further down the line and are able to rekindle of sorts, this kind of relationship. So,
Right.
um, but yeah, like we mentioned, um, oh, I just want to mention real quick that this chicken negotiation. I
Hmm.
forgot I had a note about this.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, I feel like Jeff gave up way too much.
Yeah. What was he? He's soft in his old age. That is way too many eggs.
Yeah, it's three times what the second place group got for last.
When does he ever like negotiate like that? Usually he's like, no, you're getting X, and then In
Right.
this scenario, he was like, "Yeah, I'll go up like a full dozen to
Yeah,
what I
he
was
was
gonna."
like, yeah, he said it's never smart to just meet halfway, but I'm willing to do it. And I'm like, why? Your life does not change
Yeah.
if they get this.
Why
You're
did
just
they not
making it
just kill the
easier.
chickens and make the
It sounded like
cook the chicken?
Sierra and I think maybe Rachel did not want to kill the. It sounded like Sam. Sam really wanted to kill the chickens and eat them. I
Yeah.
can't believe you have three whole chickens there and you don't kill them.
And you trade them for eggs.
Right.
Like the chickens is so much more sustenance and protein and like I don't know. Like I felt very much like you just need to kill them and
Yeah.
like that's so much better than the eggs. Like three whole chickens. Like I could eat a whole chicken like right now. Like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's so much food.
Yeah, I think that I mean old school Survivor is yeah you let it lay eggs for like 3 days and then you're like I can't take this anymore and you kill one of them.
Yeah.
You let the other one keep laying eggs and then
It sounded
you
like it
know
wasn't laying egg or like they weren't the eggs weren't usable.
yeah, well it's they just kept them in the cage. It's like you got to make something soft so that when the egg drops out,
Yeah.
like how many times they said three eggs broke
Yeah.
right when they laid them. It's like how many times are you gonna let the egg come out of their ass before you fucking
Like, oh no, the egg is broken on the ground when we woke up. Like,
yeah make it a
however could I have
cushion.
prevented this?
Yeah, I don't know. Um, Also, one last thing about the challenge, we really needed Chris Noble for that sandbag toss at the
Oh
end.
yeah.
I forget
Absolutely.
who threw that first one, and they did the shot from behind the wall. You
Mhm.
see the sandbag disappear and like seemingly hit the wall, and nothing moved.
Yeah.
I have no idea where it hit. They're like, "Ooh,
Who
that's pretty
was that?
solid."
Yeah.
I think like Tiana, maybe. I think it was the Blue Tribe because they were way far ahead. But
Sam was the best at this. He was killing it, obviously.
yeah,
Like knocking all of them off. But
and then Andy came in relief when they had one block left,
Mhm.
and he wound up with the most unathletic looking thing, but he drilled it.
He did, yeah.
That's Andy. That's Andy.
It's always funny to watch like these watch them do something that's like classically athletic. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
like
Like
throw a ball.
throw a ball or like
Yeah,
catch something like, and none of them have like good form at all.
yeah, yeah. I would be a little I'd be a little nervous about the perception of me if I had to do something like this because I have been an athlete, like especially playing baseball. It's the most like the thing that translates the most for this. But I've never had a strong arm,
Hmm.
so I would just be like, I think it'd be pretty accurate. But with something like this, people would
Hmm.
be like, "Isn't this guy the baseball player?" And I'm like, "I played second base. Stop it, please."
I didn't even have to throw it this far.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, like we mentioned, merge next week. I think it's time. We've mentioned rankings briefly every week, but we haven't really done uh, the full State of the Union like we used to.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, merge is always the time we do some winner equity. Just
Hmm.
kind of give everybody the thumbs down, thumbs up, or thumbs in the middle maybe on
Hmm.
if we think they are on their way to winning the game or could win the game or can't. Um, should we start from the top or the bottom, you think?
I think we should start from the top. I think the bottom is more interesting.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. All right, so we'll just go off this week's rankings. So our number one, uh, my number two, and Dave's number one is Genevieve.
Hmm.
Do you want to go first for Genevieve?
Sure. Yeah, I think Genevieve is probably one of the leaders in the clubhouse right now to win. I don't have any doubts that she couldn't win. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
not saying she is the winner. I'm just saying like she's definitely like has the potential to do that. And we've seen like we said, like anytime the tribe runs through you going to the merge, I think you're in one of the best positions in the game. So,
Yeah, yeah. I think that there's four people that I would say are the front runners in my
hmm.
opinion. And I would put Genevieve in there. I think she's the only person from the Red Tribe that is. Like you said, the tribe runs through her. We've seen her navigate a messy dynamic so far and be able to make the most of it. I think the one thing for her is Rome, right? Is it the best thing to cut him? Is it the best thing to hang on to him for a little longer and then cut him? Do you fully commit to him? there's there's a lot of decisions, and based on his personality, he is one of the very few people in Modern Survivor that he could get voted out strictly for his personality, not social. There's very few people like that anymore, and I do think he's one of them. So
Hmm.
I trust Genevieve. Will she make the right decisions with Rome? Right,
Right.
that's my thought. Um, all right, our next one. Each of our number three, um, and you're gonna go first next. So I'll go first for Sam. Sam is also one of my four that I think can win. Um, I think he's shown an ability to front run, right? He's always been kind of the man with a plan at the Yellow Tribe. The relationship with Sierra has bore fruit. He was able to pluck Andy from obscurity and turn him into a solid-ish player. Um, and I think there's a whole other side of Survivor that we haven't seen from Sam, and that is when you have to make something happen, right? What can you do?
Hmm.
Somebody who's in a position like Saul is probably the best example of this, or Genevieve as well when Keyshawn was targeting Rome, who it's not her, but it's her number one ally, and you know when the vote going wrong can completely fuck your game, and it's likely that it goes wrong, what can you do about it, right? And I'm interested to see how Sam plays that portion of the game. I have some confidence in him, but I feel like his personality kind of lends itself more to someone who is in control,
Hmm.
and I'm wondering if things could maybe unravel if he gets into a tough spot. But for now, Rachel's kind of his only adversary.
Hmm.
I guess everybody knows about him in Sierra, but
Yeah.
it's an interesting position. But I think he
Yeah.
can win.
I agree. I think Sam is another like top pick to win for sure. I am not. I would put him below Genevieve just from like the perception of him aspect,
Mm-hmm.
where like he's already on people's radar of being in a strong duo and like big strong guy. Like how often do we really see that archetype win? Like not very often, but he is like he is playing like a winner, I would say. It's just like the more of the other people's perception of him, which we don't even know yet because next week is the merge. But like he does have like King of the Misfits vibe where like he just rounds everybody up and like they're happy to work with him. So we'll see if he continues that like past Andy or if he transitions into more of a just like generic leader type role. I'll be interested to see, but I think I would put him slightly below Genevieve, like we have him in the rankings.
Sure. Um, Next, our number three. This is your number two, my number four. It is Sierra.
Sure. Yeah, I think Sierra is another person that can definitely win. I don't see we haven't seen anything from her, I don't think yet that would lend me to thinking she couldn't win. Um, so I think her and Sam being a duo, I'm interested to see how they play that going towards the merge. If they decide to like almost like split up into different groups, or if they decide to stay together and try to bring more people into their little three. Um, I'll be interested to see how it goes. I'm really like I said, Sam and Sierra can kind of be viewed together here. I think in that their game is going to be really dependent on I think how everyone else perceives them in these first couple votes. So I think like if they can make it through these first couple votes post merge without like too much like hullabaloo around
He's word, yeah.
thanks
All right.
without without too much of it like being focused on them and being focused on like are they too tight, are they like that whole like a lot of allies go into the merge and are in post merge where they're just like targeted because they're together and because they're too tight to let them get too far. As long as there's not too much of that talk going around, I think that they're going to be in a pretty good position for the rest of the game. So like I said, I think Sierra is more like the archetype that would win before Sam would, like in this day and age. But I think they're both. I have them in my mind just pretty much equal. to be honest.
Yeah, I kind of getting into what you were touching on at the end. Sierra is another one of the four people that I was talking about that I do think has a chance to win. Um, I think that her best thing might be if they do one of those split tribal councils at 12 or 10 or whatever, if Sam goes home in one of those. Like if they
Hmm.
build something together, they're a part of a strong alliance, and Sam kind of gets screwed out of the game.
Hmm.
And her position doesn't weaken other than the fact that he's gone,
Hmm.
but she has a strong foundation, and now she doesn't have the big target of them being a pair, right?
Right.
I think that would buy her a few weeks of safety. Um, I'm not sure if I love her strategically, just because, like I said, I know it was a tough decision, but I think she just kind of caved to what Sam wanted, and maybe it's
Hmm.
because it was a tough decision. She just deferred to what her ally really strongly wanted. But yeah, I think she's definitely in a position to win. I don't know how I feel her about her as a winner, but as of right now, she's going to be up there for me.
She did execute it well, though.
Yeah, I
That's
thought so too.
not
All
for
right.
nothing.
Um, Number four. This is a big discrepancy between us. Your number nine, my number one. It is the last of the four people that I talked about, Caroline. Um, like I said, I really like what's going on with her edit. A lot of the story being told through her. I kind of like it's a maybe 20s, 30s seasons of Survivor winner edit, but somebody who just kind of takes a nap in the pre-merge. Sets themselves up well early and then just kind of chills. And then once the merge comes, then they emerge and start playing the game. And that's kind of what she's done, right? Is she got herself into a good position where there was pretty much no way she's getting voted out pre-merge, and then kind of just floated until then. Obviously, her tribe didn't really go to tribal council, um, but now she's had 2 weeks in a row. She got the amulets with Teeny and Andy, and now she had this reward where she kind of linked back up with Teeny. I think that Caroline could be Teeny's landing place.
Hmm.
Um, and they were chatting with Rachel, so she has some ins. Depends which side of the yellow tribe she wants to work with. Plus, she has both sides of the blue tribe, so I think she's probably the person with the most options. And from what we've seen the last 2 weeks, I kind of like the way that she analyzes the game. So I feel pretty confident in Caroline. I think she is one of the main contenders for me.
Gotcha. Yeah, I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, where just like I don't, for whatever reason, I like don't necessarily trust her. I think we just read her differently, and
Mm-hmm.
just how we're seeing her play the game. I like don't really like her personality very much, and I think that is giving me like a little bit of bias towards or like against her strategic decisions as well. So like my bias and not really liking her on the screen, I'm thinking like, oh well, like other people aren't on the island aren't gonna really like her either, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that's what's really like putting her in the position that I'm putting her in. So I probably do have her pretty like unfairly low, but it's just like my read on her. Like I definitely would not put her in the category of like can't win or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
She's just not like in my top couple picks to win. And I think it's just solely because like I don't see her like being well liked enough to win. It's just because I don't really like her. And I don't really have any more like I agree with what you're saying. Like she is well connected and like I was saying before, like how she is the lifeline for Sue and Gabe and for the Blue Tribe. It feels like to like make connections with the other tribes and kind of form a majority alliance post merge here. But like, I'll if she does do that, I will change my tune on her. I still probably won't like her very much, but I I will give her some more credit. I just me not liking her very much like it's hard for me to then like project for her to succeed. So like once she does it, I'll give her the credit for it. But like I'm not just projecting her that way. I guess is where I'm at.
Sure. All right. Now we're getting into. I think there's a strong case for and against pretty much everybody left.
I agree.
So now it's going to get interesting. Our next one, I guess it'll be me going first. This is both of our number 6, but he ends up at number 5. It is Andy. So my take on Andy is I think he is going to be a really good player in the post merge. I think he is a little bit idiot savant like, where people are still going to look at him and be like, "Oh, like how did this guy make it this far?" But I think he is likable enough, and he has enough baseline ability that he won't be a liability strategically. I
Mm-hmm.
do think he needs to fix his little loose lip syndrome a little bit. Um, I just think it would be really unheard of for somebody who had a blow up like that on day 3 or whatever to win the game. For everybody to see that and to see that side of him and to win the game, it feels like there might be a stink of unseriousness maybe on him that you just can't have for a winner. I think
Mm-hmm.
people would have a hard. He does have the likability on his side, but I think unless people really, really like him and he becomes kind of the class clown crowd favorite guy out there, unless that happens, I think that people are going to have a hard time bringing themselves to be like, I got beat by that guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, although I like Andy, I think he probably does not have winner upside.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you 100% that I would put Andy like towards the top of can't win, towards the
Yeah.
top of that tier and can
Hmm.
win. Um, and I think it's just solely. Can you can you imagine him at Final Tribal like defending his game?
Right. That's the other thing, too.
Like there's no way he could like when faced with questioning about like why did you make this decision and defend these decisions and name me one time that you did this and it wasn't this other person's. I don't think
Mhm.
he can defend what he did that well, and I do think it does also play a role where like people don't want to vote for someone who they think they're smarter than or they think that they played a better game than. So I think Andy, unfortunately, even if he does play a good game, just like falls into that category for a lot of people. So I think I don't think he can win, but I think he's near the top of that category.
Yeah. I think he plays a really strong passive game
Yeah.
where I think he's good at realizing that Salmon Sierra is good for his game. So he floats over there. Um, he, but I feel like he thinks his big thing that he's done to this point was getting Rachel and Annika to give him a name last week,
Right.
and which is something they probably would have done anyway, right? So
Mhm.
I just don't know if he has that aggressive, go out there and make something happen move in him.
Yeah.
Um, all right, up next, you can go first for your number 5, my number 10. It is Soul.
Yeah. So Saul, again, we kind of talked about him earlier, where something is misaligned here,
Mm-hmm.
where I think he's playing a better game than the other players on the island think he's playing, or like he is a better just player than the other people on the island. I think he benefits more than pretty much anyone for the merge to come.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Him and
with
Kyle, I'd say.
him and Kyle, yeah. Um, in that the people on his tribe like are either don't want to work with him or are choosing other people to work with over him, and he just I think he would. Let me say that I don't think Saul is a winner. I would put him. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't put him in can't win, but I don't think he is the winner for this season. So I'm kind of like middle thumbing him to, towards towards like towards can't win, trending towards can't win, but still in the potential. He could really turn it around here. I think come the merge if he really capitalizes on his options. But I just like the way he analyzes the game so well, and it's just like you were saying before, where like he just doesn't have the capital to like make any decisions,
Mm-hmm.
and that's unfortunate because I think he would do well if he had the information, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's really one to at the merge really put himself out there and get in with a big group of people. Like I really more see him just like not working with Genevieve, Rome, and Teeny moving forward, but like not really putting himself into like a position to be in a position of power and just kind of like floating and maybe just getting like voted out when he's outside of the majority is kind of where I see him falling. And it's unfortunate because I think he's a much better player than that. I just don't see it really happening for him.
Yeah. I think Sol, I say this about one or two people every season. I think Sol is a guy that I would much rather hear talk about the game than watch him play the game. Like that's my big. I mean, he's not similar to Adam Klein at all, but that's always been my comment on Adam Klein is I think he's way better at talking about the game than he actually is at playing the game. I think Sol. I am also on the. I think I'll go a step further than you though. I don't think he can win this season. I think that first of all, the stuff with Rome, it's not his fault at all. But I think his name is it's just so out there that, yeah, and I think Rome is really going to lay it on thick next week. And even if everyone is like Rome is this jackass, like we're definitely on Sol's side in this. Once Rome's gone, and you look at Sol, like he's still a guy that you're probably a little afraid of, right? And I think he has a deliberate nature about him where I think he always has something really poignant to say. He's seemingly pretty, I don't know, he's very interesting in his confessionals. He actually seems like kind of a fun guy to have a beer with. But I think he also he very clearly thinks before he talks.
And that's scary.
Right. And I just think that when you kind of watch him, be it body language or be in a conversation with him, it's very clear that he's already sussed out in his head like what his goal of this interaction is, and he's executing a goal. And I think it's just, if you think about it, it's just a guy trying really hard at all. He's trying to be very good at all facets. Every second, he's trying to win the moment. Almost, he's trying to be the best. He's trying to play the best second of Survivor he can every second. And I just think people are going to be scared of him. And I don't see him making it much further than final 7 maybe before people are just like, this guy's dangerous.
Take a derivative, buddy. Jeez.
Yeah, seriously.
No, I think, yeah, I think you're right. Then he just he's threateningly passive.
Yeah. It is. He's trying so hard to float because it didn't work, but now it's too late, and now you can't just float because you need to do more.
Yeah, he's never the guy that is gonna come up with the plan and execute the plan to blindside you, but you're right in that he always is he always has a goal, and you just feel that you never know which side of the goal you're on, if you're right on his side or if you're not on his side, but he's not going to tell you either. Yeah. So, he's just he's a passive, lots of passive players win the game, and they, come on strong at the end because they were passive and because they made these, alliances that people didn't see and, networked them all together to win. He's not that guy. He is passive, but in a way that never fully develops, I feel and that people see him being passive and they're like, that guy's being too passive. They can point at him from across the beach. But
yeah, he feels like someone who would tell the tale of Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Oh yeah.
And then you say, is he trying to kill me or is he trying to make me his apprentice? And is he trying to make me his apprentice so that he has me so close that I'll never go against him?
I am him.
And at some point I have to throw him down the Star Wars version of an elevator shaft.
That's right. It's are you Darth Plagueis the Wise? He goes, me? Wise? Never. He does have a Palpatine-esque category, demeanor.
He would level the fuck up with a black hood.
Oh yeah. Never did I think that we would get to Saul as the villain of this season from this conversation, but he doesn't do anything villainous. He's just kind of he's like Senator Palpatine. When no one knew he was the Emperor, he's very much this guy has a goal, but I'm not sure if he's for or against the Jedi right now.
Yeah. He also always has a look on his face like he's thinking of something.
He's
That's just
scheming.
his,
He's a
like some
schemer.
people have resting bitch face. He has resting scheme face.
He does. Saul's interesting.
Yeah, I do like Saul. All right, our number 7, smack dab in the middle. It's your number 7, my number 9. It is Rachel.
Rachel's another one who I think does benefit from the merge.
Mm-hmm.
She is someone who could definitely blend into the background. I think that I think she could go one of two ways. She could lead the charge against Sam and Sierra, or she could just kind of be like, let's let bygones be bygones. We're probably not going to work together, but like, we're not gonna actively target each other either. Let's just like, the tribe phase is over. Let's, the merge is here. If we need to work together, like, we will, but I'm not gonna be like forming plans with you, type of thing. I
Yeah,
think Rachel could win. I think she is probably the most like,
middle
could
and
she not? Like
yeah,
right smack dab in the middle of like, she needs to, her edit is gonna make one turn or another. Like it needs to go in some direction because without Annika, who is she?
right.
Like it's always been Rachel and Annika, Rachel and Annika.
Yeah,
And post merge, like I think she's gonna find herself in a group that we haven't seen her in yet. So I think she is pretty much like the Rachel line right now.
yeah. I was gonna say I think she's perfect for the bottom line where she's average in a passive way, and we need someone who's average in an aggressive way.
True neutral.
Yes, and I'm starting to wonder if it's Andy. I don't know, but because he's not
Andy's
aggressive. 'Cause
chaotic good. If we're talking
chaotic
D and
good,
D,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. That's the word I'm looking for. But yeah, Rachel, I do think I would tentatively say that she's not going to win, but I think she has big potential to change that in the next like 2 or 3 episodes, where she kind of was in this conversation with Caroline, who I'm high on as a riser, and I think if she ditches the Yellow Tribe, she hops on board with Caroline and kind of gets herself into a whole new group, just a whole new start. Can she learn from maybe getting a little too complacent with the breadwinners and potentially, morph? It's not her second time playing, but it's almost her second time playing. Of you've learned from a mistake, kind of like I forget who I was mentioned. Oh, I think Rome. I said this about right that he could benefit from a close ally going home and getting a reality check.
Mm-hmm.
I think Rachel just got that where it could have easily been her. It was just her and one other person that were left out of the vote, and that person got voted out. So I think a chance to reevaluate and maybe reshape the way you play the game, without actually having to pay the price of going home, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'll tentatively say she can't, but I'm not giving up on her. She is pretty in the middle, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
All right, number 8, actually tied with Rachel for 7, but this is your number 4. I did drop her too low. I've got Tiana at number 12, but it is Tiana.
All right, yeah, she evened out pretty good in the middle there.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm gonna put her in could win.
Yeah, I think she might be the bottom of could win.
Yeah, I'm gonna put her in could win. I think she started out slow in the edit. We didn't see her like the first week at all, and I think she's been increasing and increasing in the edit, and it's tough because Blue didn't get much really at all, and this was like a wrap up the Blue tribe where everyone stands type of episode. And I think if her, to be honest, we could never even hear about like what she said about Gabe in the social hour again. Like that could have just been like a passing thing, and I think
Yeah.
she's in a really good position. I think that like she is now forever an adversary to Sue.
Yeah. Just made Sue's list, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that from what I'm reading, like people are not going to agree with Sue. Like I don't think Sue. I think what Sue's going to do is start pitching Tiana to everyone after the merge, and it's just going to be Sue that goes home because
Yeah.
she's pitching everybody a name, and everyone's like, I don't really want to work with this lady. So, that's kind of my read on Tiana is like if she can overcome Sue, I think she's going to be in a good spot. I think that you're right. The forum in which she delivered that information was probably not the best, but like I do think she's a better player than that, and I think she has a lot of qualities that would lend themselves to a winner, but I would put her like solidly at the bottom of like the people I think can win.
Sure. Yeah, I think I kind of have the same read. It's sort of like Genevieve, but the 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 cons are way bigger, right? Where
Hmm.
Genevieve, it's just like how's she gonna navigate Rome. Teeny's it, or not Teeny. Tiana's is how is she gonna navigate just kind of the collapse of the Blue Tribe, which I think is inevitable. I think they're. I would bet they're the first tribe to lose two people in the post
Hmm.
merge. I'd bet two of them go in the first three or maybe four episodes. Um, so it's just can she survive that? I do think that Sue is her biggest adversary. And I think Sue is going to be somebody who bangs the drum hard for her. But Gabe too feels very slighted by her, and we'll see how aggressive Gabe decides to get with it. I think Gabe has more tact than Sue, where
Hmm.
he,
Oh yeah.
if someone says, what's a name, and I could see him saying, honestly, Tiana is somebody that I know has been coming for me, and if someone is genuinely coming for you, I don't think it's crazy for you to say their name, right? Just
Hmm.
throw it right back on them. But Sue is, she doesn't like what happened to Gabe because of Tiana, and so she's the kind of person who would go out of her way to make Tiana a target. Um, and so yeah, I agree with you that I think it's navigating Sue. I think it's the
Hmm.
biggest thing for her.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick, I'd say she lasts longer in the game than Sue,
Hmm.
which means she's got some run out
Yeah.
for for a, I'd put her at the bottom of I think she can win.
Yeah.
Um, that brings us to her big op. This is your number 12. I don't know why I meant to move him up, but maybe not this high. But I have Gabe at 5. Um, that's which is
Okay.
I think is just wrong. Um, I do. Part of the thing for me is I think we didn't get a lot of blue these last couple weeks, and I need to have seen Gabe's behavior the last few weeks because it sounds like not only was he looking for idols and he played the idol, but Tiana's making it sound like he's back at it, like he's out there looking again, right?
Hmm.
We haven't seen that. Is it just the reputation of he found the beware advantage and played it, right? Which honestly, if somebody finds it and plays it incorrectly, I almost would rather them having it than somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know that I don't know that that the target on Gabe's back is too big for him to overcome. I think that I almost need like a parallel tier for Gabe and
Hmm.
somebody else that we're going to talk about later of there actually is winner upside, but it's about 1%, and if it's not a winner, then it's going to be like really really bad.
Yeah.
And I think for Gabe, I really don't see him being a guy who just kind of fades and gets voted out in the final like 8 or something like that. I think that we're either going to see him be one of the main players and to be either a winner, a final 4 boot, a final 5 boot, something like that, or I think he's going to crash and burn relatively soon.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
I will tentatively say he's not the winner.
Good. Good bold prediction. I think. I think Gabe continues to be the Andy foil,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting. And I asked this exact opposite question when we talked about Andy. Is Gabe bad?
I don't think he's bad. I think that he got a bad. It's almost like Andy. He got the stink on him week like one
Right.
or two.
That's what I
Both of
said. Is
those
Andy?
guys have been right. They've both been pretty solid since episode like 2.
Yeah, right. And yeah, that's what I'm like. Is Andy good? I don't know if I would necessarily go as far as to ask if Gabe is good, but like, is he bad? I don't think he is
I
necessarily. I
think
don't know.
he's
This is what I mean. Like, are we too far removed from seeing Gabe to think that?
right. This is the yeah last week.
Because
I
like,
think that he's the average aggressive. If Rachel is the average passive,
yeah.
I think he's fine and he's a mover and a shaker.
Hmm.
but I don't know that he's good.
Yeah. I I don't know what to I put him below Rachel in like the true neutral where
Hmm.
like he is fairly neutral. Like I feel like what he does doesn't really affect what's happening, but like he's more on the bad the bad end of that.
Yeah.
Where like I do think that he is more like crash and burn and just go home one week like soon rather than win. I would also say he's probably there's like an outside shot. Like if the the puzzle pieces in the cards fall exactly like as he needs them to, like he is very much a person where like you need to have the exact right people in right
Hmm.
situation for him to win the game. And do I think this is the cast? No, probably not. Um, Although, like, if you're left at the end with like, he could probably beat half the cast at the end.
I think so too. Yeah, if you put him there with like his girl Sue, right? If they make it all the way, and then you toss the two of them up against Rome, he wins. Teeny, he could maybe win. Uh, like Rachel, he could win. Saul, he could maybe win. Like
And like
there's
he could beat
wins there
Andy,
for
like
him.
like
Yeah,
that,
Andy.
like that's like half the cast. You know what I mean? Like so,
Right.
like it is crazy to say like he has like a very very small percent chance to win when we just named half the cast that he could beat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just don't know that. I just don't see a way he can get there because
But I like
he's
wouldn't
so
take
on the
all of
radar.
you give me all of them and you give me like Sam and Genevieve, I would not take the field.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like you have to
I
say
would.
like
Caroline.
yeah, yeah. You have to like think like okay, when you're looking at it from pure numbers, like he's probably better than half of them, but like can 75% of them take out the top 25%? Like no.
Well,
That's why
everybody
they're
gets a
the
vote.
that's why they're
Everybody
the
gets a
top
vote.
25%.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about Gabe is like in the if you like handpick circumstances for him probably, but I don't think so this not this season, buddy.
Yeah. All right, our number 10. This is actually a tie. I'm gonna bounce the other person ahead. This is your number 10, my number 8. It is Kyle. I think we've been saying that Kyle benefits a lot from a swap. He makes it to the merge. I am going to say I don't think Kyle can win. I think he is a solid player, and I think that uh, he has like loyal soldier vibes, and he's like a good number. He's going to be a good number two to a really good player
Mm-hmm.
down the stretch of this game. But I just I haven't seen enough from him. Like he's been on the bottom, and I get we haven't seen a lot of blue in general, but we didn't really get a successful like him pitching. It was pretty much TK went home. He solidified things with Tiana, and they've kind of been hitting their head against the wall. Trying to get Gabe targeted, right? So Sue didn't like that. Obviously, Gabe's not going to like that. So it was really Caroline. They were never able to flip. I think Caroline was keeping them as an option just because
Mm-hmm.
she wanted to. But yeah, I'd say Kyle. Although I do like him as a player, I think he's probably not a winner.
Yeah, kind of going off of what I was saying about Gabe is like I don't know if there's any season that Kyle wins necessarily.
Yeah.
Like
He could get
Gabe,
to the end a lot,
yeah, I
but I don't
think
think he could win very often.
yeah, I would agree because he like is pretty good at like a lot of things and is just like below like a little below average at a couple things
Hmm.
and not great at anything. And like he's another one where I'm like I don't think he is aggressive enough
Hmm.
to win. Like good winners know when any winners, not even good winners, any winners know when to be passive and know when to be aggressive. I just think he's passive all the time. And like you said, he is like a number and a good number two and someone you can trust in and confide in that they're gonna make the right decisions for you and your alliance. But like he is not someone I would ever like when you get to the end, like you would ever think of turning on because they could beat you. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I think that I would put him fairly solidly in the can't win category, but not because he's a bad player, just because I don't think he has it in him.
Right. Yeah, I don't think the winner upside's not there, but he definitely can be a good player. I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Also tied with this is a person I got to bump down. I've realized through talking through this episode, I really am not high on this person at all. So you're number 11, my number 7. It is Sue. Um, yeah, we mentioned it before, and I keep saying this is the last time I'm gonna have to say this, but we haven't seen much from the Blue Tribe, and she kind of seemed to dig out a nice little corner of the Blue Tribe Empire at the beginning, but she's kind of doing the very old school Survivor thing of, all right, I made my allies, and if you are in the alliance and you don't do anything untrustworthy, I'm good with you and I'll never go against you. And if you are outside of the alliance and you try to do something, you're my new number one target. And if you are in the alliance and you do something a little shady, you're my number one target even over those people. And
You,
so
sir, no Boston Rob.
right, so she has like these really rigid rules of not really morality, but just kind of the style that she's gonna play by.
You don't go against the
And
family. It's very,
right,
like,
she is.
Godfather-esque, yeah.
Yeah, and she is one of the heavies, I think. So she wants to be the one whacking people.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't think that I don't see her ever rallying the troops enough to be in a position to actually play that kind of game successfully. And so for that reason, I'm out.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I don't really like Sue either. I think that she is not the type of person to play like a Godfather type game. I don't think
Hmm.
she has like the pull over people that that type of game commands. Where like if you're like Boston Rob for instance, like people are like actively scared of moving against him. Like,
Hmm.
and in any mafia show movie ever, like no one wants to move against Tony Soprano. You know, like
Right.
I would not put like Sue in that category of people where like you're scared for your life in the game if you like make a move against her.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I think a lot of people would bet on themselves against her, which is not the good like a good position to be in if you want to be this like mob leader, which I don't even think she does, but I just think that's like the game she's playing without really knowing that she's playing it.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't see her making it much further. I think if I had a dun chain today, I might put it on her just because like that's how low I am on her. I think that especially like seeing the her and Tiana come to like a crux last episode. They're like setting up something in this first merge episode to happen there, and I don't think she comes out on top, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so too. She also there were a couple people that tried to move against Tony Soprano, but they all got it.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think she has the inner.
Um,
Adriana. Take her upstate.
I was thinking of Richie April, who didn't get whacked, but he got done in by a soprano,
He did, yeah.
at least.
It's true.
Um, new stolen
Adriana
bit spoiling the
would be like
Sopranos.
Gabe moving against her and her having to take him upstate.
Just picture Gabe crawling away on the ground, like,
No, 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 no.
and just who's Silvio in that situation? Is it Caroline? Is it the
Caroline,
Countess?
Caroline. She'd be a good like Sylvia, I think.
Yeah. All right, last two here. Our number 12. This is your number 8, my number 11. It's Teeny. She's
All
probably
right.
better than that, but
Teeny. I think she is already trying to take advantage of the merge. She was doing that at social hour. She's just like, I don't really want to
Mhm.
work with you. I'm on the bottom. Like, I'm kind of free agenting it up. And she's grown on me a lot too. Just like her personality on the island. I feel like she has come a long way since the first episode too, where we were like, she's gonna be like this crazy, like kind of like Andy character almost. And ends up kind of just coming out of this like I don't really want to work with the people that were on my tribe, and that's fine. Like if you make it to the merge and you just don't want to work with the people that you made it there with, like that's absolutely fine, especially in this day and age where like tribe alliances don't mean anything. So I think she is trending upwards. I would put her towards the. I think she has the. I wouldn't put her in like a winner pick area, but
Mm.
like I think she has winner upside. Like it's a non-zero chance that she could win. Um,
Yeah, I think there's so we're saying Tiana is in the can win tier.
I would put Tiana in the can win, and I would put probably Teeny closely following her.
Yeah, I think she's whatever that next tier is of can win,
Probably
but
won't.
probably can't. Which
Yeah,
obviously everyone probably won't win, but
yeah.
like I I guess the winner upside's not zero, but you definitely lean towards no. I
Hmm.
think that is teeny. I think Gabe is at the bottom of that tier.
Hmm. I
Um,
think Teeny might be at the top.
I think Soul is in that tier somewhere.
Rachel's in that tier.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm kind of the same way on Teeny. That I've been low on her the whole time, but it's just I just feel like she's so flippant, and we saw that kind of in their first elimination,
Hmm.
and then her relationship with Rome is weird, where I feel like she has always just wanted to go all in and be against Rome. But he
Hmm.
keeps giving her information and she keeps saying, "Well, if he's giving me information, I guess I can trust him." But I don't I don't really know if that's not a reason to just trust somebody. It's like they're giving me
Hmm.
information. It should be more like, wow, I'm so lucky that this guy that I don't even work with is giving me information. I don't
Hmm.
think it's a reason to change your whole game. And that's what she did. She flipped this entire game by her and Kashan siding with Roman Genevieve.
Hmm.
And I think she's done to herself what has happened to her. I think
Hmm.
it's mostly her fault. And so while I do think she's another one that I think I'd rather hear her talk about survivor strategy than watch her try to execute it, because I don't think every time she talks I'm like that's not wrong,
Hmm.
but she always seems to get herself into these bad situations, and I'm curious to see if this shuffle helps, because like you said, she's been with Caroline the last 2 weeks on these little switches, and I'm high in Caroline, so maybe she'll drag her ass to the end. Who
I
knows?
feel like a lot of the time she's like thinking like two steps ahead when she should be thinking one or five.
Yeah,
Like she's always caught in the middle. Like you need to either make the decision right now that benefits you right now to put you in a good spot, or you need to be thinking long term what puts you in a good spot. And she's always caught in the middle.
yeah, I would agree with that. And our last one, this is Rome. Both of our is unanimous 13. I think that he is in that same parallel tier as Gabe, but very, very low, where Rome has a little bit of, it's just maybe he's not this much of a douchebag, but a little bit of evil dick, Big Brother 8 energy of he everything has to be done by his hand, and a lot of it is him just being like he's been just a jerk to Saul a couple times,
Mm-hmm.
or he was a backup plan in this, and he kind of he was really hamming up how upset he was that Teeny didn't tell him about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just it seems like as long as he's in the game, a decent portion of the game is going to be driven by his emotions, and he makes strategic decisions based on his emotions. And I think I might have compared him to Sugar earlier this season,
Mm-hmm.
and it's becoming more and more true. Like he has more um, ability and want to influence the social game or the strategic game than Sugar ever did.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I think it is that where he has these moods where he's like, well, now I can't trust Teeny, so now I'm gonna go spill my guts to Saul, and like you've been against him this whole time. Like,
Mm-hmm.
sure, try to mend it, but don't do all that,
Right.
So yeah, I've never liked Rome that much as a player, and
Mm-hmm.
I would say
Rome.
he can't win. But if Gabe has a 1% chance, Rome has a 0.001% chance, and then everything else is really bad.
I would put Rome solidly in the can't win. In
You
the
telling me 0.001% is solidly and can't win?
No, I would. He cannot win. I would say 0% chance he wins. Um, to continue with the D&D allegories, Rome is lawful evil, for sure,
Yes.
and the laws that he follows are ones that he sets for himself.
Yes. Which is
Which,
an evil thing to do.
yeah, yeah.
It's to
And
live by your own rules
he's
and
like,
not
I want
society's.
bad outcomes for all of my actions, and the actions are based upon rules that I set for myself. That is
Yeah.
lawful evil. Because, like, he is truly, I feel like truly not playing the game in the way that, most people's outlook on the game is like, what can I do to get myself further in the game, right? Like, how can
Mhm.
I prolong my game? The way Rome plays is like, how can I fuck everyone else's game so that I'm the only one remaining?
Yeah, he doesn't do anything positive for himself. He's just
No.
negatively impacting as many people as possible.
Which is one way to look at it, I guess, is like, if everyone else's game sucks, like, even though mine isn't that good, it's better than everyone else's, which is like, I don't know if we've
Right.
ever seen that really take on playing, but like, I do really
Russell
feel that.
Hance.
Yeah. I just can't. Rome is worse than Russell Hance.
Yeah, I would say, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Rome wasn't hardened by losing his dog in Katrina while living in Houston.
I want to know what esports does he commentate? Is it like League of Legends probably?
I don't know. I've kind of wanted to look that up though because yeah, when streaming really got into the mainstream, I did used to watch a couple of those like every once in a while, but it was never like the Fortnite, Call of Duty, like the what the fuck, Overwatch, like all the really big ones.
Valorant, Overwatch, yeah.
Yeah, I
CS:GO,
never
yeah.
really saw him do any of those, so I don't know.
I don't know. He gives like League of Legends like commentator vibes. I feel like because they
Yeah.
have like pretty. That's like a pretty big like competitive scene,
Mhm.
and he just like looks like that's what he would be commentating.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't like Rome either, but like he is good. He's another one who's good TV,
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
sure.
I don't hate having Rom on the screen because
No.
it's a guy that I think I have totally figured out, and which is fun. Just in a game where you're trying to figure out so many things, it's nice to have a constant.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
For sure.
Desmond Hume, which that's Olivia finally she started watching Lost,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was like, ooh, I want to watch Lost, and now 4 episodes in is no longer a show that she's watching. It's now a show that we
It's
are
just that
watching.
you're rewatching.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, so that brings us to the very last thing,
Chung chung.
the dun chains. So it's mine to give again. Like I said, we had the double Annika dun chain was successful. So all that's left is you don't have anybody.
Correct.
I have Andy and Rome from last week.
So you would say that he is in the can't win.
Yeah. I banged the drum pretty hard for Andy for somebody that I just stopped supporting there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's interesting. You said this unprompted, but it was a conclusion that I was slowly coming to over the course of the episode. Anyway, I'm gonna do Sue.
All
I
right.
was
That's what I thought.
considering Gabe. I was considering Teeny, like these players that could maybe get themselves into bad situations, like losable situations. But I think that Sue is just someone that I like. Teeny, I could see herself working out of a bad situation. Gabe, I could see himself working out. Sue, I don't, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't care if she goes to the final whatever the fuck, and I'm wrong. I'm comfortable thinking that Sue is not going to win this game. So
I
I'll
would
go
be
Sue.
more comfortable having Sue than Andy, I would say.
Yeah, I don't. Andy is not into the category of I am scared, but definitely it's probably one that I would take back if I could now.
Mm-hmm.
Although there's a lot of people in very similar situations that I'm going with the safe one in Sue just because things are probably going to get shaken up at the merge, and I think some of these people who are in mid situations, it'll maybe shake up a little bit. So
Yeah, I just meant that I would put him above Sue. I didn't mean that he was gonna win or anything. I just meant I would categorize Andy
No.
above Sue.
yeah, no, I know. I just because I've been back and forth on him. I think he's the same tier as Kyle, better in some ways, worse in others. Of I think a pretty solid player, but can't win for their own, their own drawbacks.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, do you have anything else?
Mm-mm.
All right. Well, football started, so it is time to sign off. We'll say thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you all next time.